What's happening, y'all? Welcome inside the Fantasy Stock Exchange. Bush coming at you solo today to do what I always do on Wednesdays, basically to talk about some running back starts and sits and the usage in each backfield. What are some of the trends that we've been seeing and things of that nature? Something a bit different this week, though, because we do have 3 games tomorrow on Thanksgiving. What I'm going to do today is I'm also going to preview the Thanksgiving games, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, the whole game, basically, and then continue with the rest of the slate of running backs. And then on Friday, I'm not going to have a video dropping tomorrow because we're going to be live around 11 a.m. On Friday, I'll drop the wide receiver and tight end starts and sits that's usually on Thursday. So that's basically what we're going to do for this week because it is a different week, because we do have the Thanksgiving game. So that is the schedule for the week. But before we get into it, like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy. Now let's hit the intro. Okay, so as I've done in weeks past, you guys can see the running back matchup chart on the screen right now. The highlighted games are the ones that are on Thanksgiving. And I did also tweet this out. So if you want to follow me over on Twitter at Football Stock that you can see on the screen right now, you can see a bigger version of it if this is a little too small for you to see, and you can kind of follow along. As I mentioned, this saves me some time from saying this team ranks this in adjusted fantasy points allowed to the running back. So you can kind of just make reference to it as I'm talking about that game. So Thanksgiving games, we're going to start preview each one of these games in full, quarterback down to tight end. And then I'm going to get into the running back position only for the rest of the slate. Of course, we'll hear a word from our sponsors over at Manscaped in between that. So Thanksgiving, Bears at Lions, the first Thanksgiving game that we are going to talk about today. At the quarterback position, of course, Dalton and Goff are not going to be guys that you consider in season long, but if you are playing some Thanksgiving DFS, I do think Andy Dalton is a guy that is a good punt play away from Dak Prescott and Josh Allen, the more popular quarterbacks on the slate. At running back, we have Montgomery and DeAndre Swift, which is obviously the big draw of this game from a fantasy perspective. It's a pretty easy matchup for Montgomery. Of course, the Lions are very terrible against the run. They have been all season. And Montgomery is getting elite usage. Dalton starting may actually help his receiving role as well. But as you guys can see on the screen, since Montgomery's return from his injury right before the bye week in week 9, he came back, saw 85% of the snaps, good majority of the rush attempts and the routes as well. Saw an even bigger share last week against the Ravens. He saw 95% of the snaps, 74% of the rush attempts, only 48% of the routes, but still used pretty much all over the field, short down and distance, long down and distance, 2-minute drill snaps. David Montgomery was getting workhorse usage, so that is definitely encouraging to see. We have him obviously in a great matchup. I currently have him inside my top 6 running backs on the week. I think he's just going to have a monster game this week. DeAndre Swift on the other side of things, his role was unchanged. We know he's been pretty much a workhorse back when Jamal Williams was out of the lineup. Now with Jamal Williams back, we wanted to see if anything changed, and nothing really did. 73% of the snaps, it's pretty much what he's been at the entire season. 61% of the carries, 80% of the routes, 22% targets per route run. Of course, getting the short down and distance, long down and distance, and 2-minute drill snaps, as well as any inside the 5 carries as well. So DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, both guys that are top 12 running backs, top 10 running backs for me on the week. Wide receiver in this game, we don't know if Allen Robinson is going to play. Even if he does, I'm not overly excited about starting him. But Darnell Mooney, if Allen Robinson is out, becomes a must flex wide receiver. He had a 45% target share this past week, over 15 targets in that game, 50% of the team's air yards, and over 50% of the third down targets as well. He was pretty much the go-to guy for this Bears offense. So he is in your lineup if Allen Robinson is out again, inside my top 30 wide receivers on the week. If you're going to play DFS, here are the wide receiver cornerback matchups. Of course, if you're not playing DFS, none of these kind of matter to you because none of these guys are startable guys. But if you are playing DFS for Thanksgiving, Marquise Goodwin and Khalif Raymond, I think, are good values if you need to save some salary. Darnell Mooney is expected to see Jerry Jacobs and AJ Parker in coverage. And of course, Goodwin seeing Amani Oruwariye. The reason I like him for DFS is because Amani O isn't the fastest guy in the world. And we know Goodwin can take the top off the defense, as we saw in recent weeks. At the tight end position, we have TJ Hawkinson and we have Cole Kmet. TJ Hawkinson is in your starting lineup. We did see Tim Boyle kind of resurrect his usage a little bit, but we do expect Jared Goff to be the starting quarterback in this game based on recent reports. So either way, TJ Hawkinson's in your lineup. He's getting usage that is, unmatched at tight end, 80, 90% of the routes that he's running, still good target share, all that stuff. And he is a good buy low target if you're looking for a tight end to help get you through the playoffs. On the Bears side of things, we do have Cole Kmet. Not a guy that I'm overly excited about starting in season long, but he is a great DFS play if you are playing the Thanksgiving slate. Raiders at Cowboys, the second game in Thanksgiving. A lot of you guys will probably be eating your Thanksgiving dinner. I, of course, I'm Canadian, so I already had Thanksgiving back in October, so I'll probably just be watching these games all day myself. So in this game, you're going to be starting Dak Prescott, sitting Derek Carr, and if you guys are playing DFS this week, this will be the most popular game because it has the highest over-under. Of course, we have the Cowboys offense running very fast-paced and things of that nature. I'm sure everybody is wondering what to do with Dak Prescott in this game if we don't have Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb has apparently cleared the concussion protocol, according to recent reports right now. The Cowboys are hopeful that he can play, but if he doesn't play, I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be wondering if you should start Dak Prescott or not. As of right now, Dak is my QB10. If CeeDee Lamb plays, he'll probably bump up to QB7, QB8. I'm still willing to play him, but I would rather start guys like Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers as of right now, assuming CeeDee Lamb doesn't play. But if he does play, then I'd probably start him over Joe Burrow, over Russell Wilson, and over Aaron Rodgers. But I would start a guy like Stafford, and then, of course, Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady, those guys ahead of him as well. So to the running back position in this game, start Zeke Elliott, start Josh Jacobs, and flex Tony Pollard. Pollard is my single favorite DFS GPP play for those of you guys that are playing in large tournaments. If you want to fade Zeke Elliott and Dak Prescott from this game and just play a one-off Tony Pollard, if he breaks a long run or gets a goal line carry or something in this game, he's going to pay off big time. He's had 12 plus touches in half of his games this season. Plus, we might have both of those wide receivers out, so they might lean on the run or use Pollard more in the slot or out wide or whatever the case is. So Tony Pollard is a guy that I think you can start as a top 30 running back this week in season long. Also a great DFS play. Zeke Elliott, of course, is Zeke Elliott. You play him no matter what. This is a great matchup for him against the Raiders run defense that is much more of a run funnel defense than they are a pass funnel defense, as we saw from Joe Mixon last week. On the other side of things, we do have Josh Jacobs. He's pretty much the most game script dependent running back in the entire league. Cowboys are 7.5 point favorites in this game. So we do expect Josh Jacobs probably to see the lower end of his normal role. When we see, as you guys can see on the screen, when he is in a good game script and it's a neutral game, maybe the Raiders are winning, we can see Josh Jacobs get 65, 70% of the snaps. He's going to get the majority of the carries, of course, maybe run a little bit more routes here and there. But when the game script is bad and the Raiders are playing from behind, we see Kenyon Drake, we see Jalen Richard more involved in long down and distance situations because the Raiders are playing from behind. So with Dak Prescott being healthy in this game, I'm expecting the Cowboys to be, fully ahead in this game, 7.5 point favorites, as I mentioned. So Josh Jacobs, probably a low end flex play, top 24 type of running back. At wide receiver, of course, I already talked about Cooper expected to be out still in the COVID protocol because he is unvaccinated. According to reports, he probably can't play in this game, but Michael Gallup is 100% in your lineup if Cooper and Lamb are out. And if Lamb plays, he's obviously in your lineup as well. As you guys can see on the screen, Michael Gallup is expected to see Faison in coverage. Great matchup advantage for him. If CeeDee Lamb is playing in this game, he would probably bump out Cedric Wilson in that Nate Hobbs matchup, which Nate Hobbs has been pretty good, but I think CeeDee Lamb could take advantage of that there. We also would see CeeDee Lamb on Casey Hayward when he's on the outside as well. And Hunter Renfrow, I also think, is a great start in this game. Expected to see Jordan Lewis in the slot. He has the best matchup on the field with Bryan Edwards likely matched up against Trevon Diggs. Probably not in shadow coverage, just alignment-wise, he will be matched up against him. Cedric Wilson is going to get a lot of steam for DFS purposes. If CeeDee Lamb is out, people are going to, punt the wide receiver position in DFS lineups and play a guy like Cedric Wilson to get exposure to this game, especially if they're playing, a Dak Prescott, Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson type of stack. But I'm probably out on Cedric Wilson if Lamb doesn't play because of the ownership that he's probably going to see. Renfrow and Gallup are the only wide receivers I'm probably going to mess with in this game if Lamb is out for this one. So at the tight end position in this one, start Darren Waller, start Dalton Schultz. These two will be probably the two highest owned tight ends on the DFS slate for Thanksgiving. In season long, of course, they are always in your lineup as they are, big parts of their offenses. So final game of Thanksgiving, we're going to go to the Bills at Saints. In this game at quarterback, obviously you're going to start Josh Allen, sit Trevor Siemian. That one's pretty straightforward. At running back, though, sit the Buffalo Bills running backs. The Bills is pretty simple to me. This is now a three-way timeshare. We've seen a neglected backfield overall for these guys. Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, they don't usually get high volume opportunities, high value opportunities because this team runs their offense through their passing game. And now we're seeing Matt Breida even mix into the mix right now, right? We're seeing the snaps pretty much split three ways, rush attempts split three ways, routes split three ways. I'm completely out on this backfield. This matchup is not good against the New Orleans Saints defense that ranks number 1 in the NFL right now in rush defense DVOA. I'm sitting every Bills running back if I can help it. And then on the Saints side of things, we have a lot up in the air right now. We don't know if Alvin Kamara, we don't know if Mark Ingram is going to play in this game. As of right now, if I had to guess, I would say that Alvin Kamara is out, but Mark Ingram plays. But we did have Mark Ingram not practicing on Tuesday. If Alvin Kamara is out and Mark Ingram plays, we obviously know to start Mark Ingram. He is in line for a big workload in that situation. But if both guys are out, then Tony Jones probably becomes a priority start as a flex play, I would say. Probably not like a top 15 running back or anything like that, but he is a flex start in a matchup that is pretty tough against the Bills. They were very good against the run until Jonathan Taylor kind of did his business on them. But yeah, Tony Jones, a guy that if he's on your waiver wire, go ahead and pick him up, stash him for the weekend or for Thursday in case we have Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara out for this game. But if they're both, playing or one of them is playing, I'm not going to be messing around with Tony Jones. At the wide receiver position, we have Stephon Diggs, who is obviously in your lineup. Flex Emmanuel Sanders in this game. Sit Cole Beasley. On the Saints side of things, I'm probably not messing around with any of their wide receivers unless we're talking about DFS. Stephon Diggs will be expected to see Marshawn Lattimore in shadow coverage, meaning that Emmanuel Sanders probably has the better matchup on the outside opposite Marshawn Lattimore, who will be glued to Stephon Diggs. Cole Beasley is a guy that I'm sitting strictly for the reason that since Dawson Knox's return, Cole Beasley has really been irrelevant as far as routes and targets are concerned. And we saw this even before Dawson Knox got injured, that he was starting to phase the 11 personnel scheme out of the Bills play calling and out of the Bills offense in favor of Dawson Knox. And Cole Beasley was a guy that was not fantasy relevant really until Dawson Knox got injured. So he's not a guy that I'm willing to start in this game. PJ Williams is a pretty easy matchup, as you guys can see on the screen for Cole Beasley, but I'm probably not messing around with him because I'm sure he's going to be very popular in DFS circles. I'm going to be going with Stephon Diggs and Emmanuel Sanders if I start any wide receivers in this game. If you're looking for a Saints wide receiver to start in this one, it actually says that Deontay Harris has the best matchup on the field. Could be a good punt play for DFS purposes, probably not going to be very highly owned. And we know he's very explosive and could, break off one big play and pay off at his price. So at the tight end position, we have Dawson Knox, 95% of the routes in his second game back this past week, along with 26% of the targets. He effectively took Cole Beasley off the field last week, probably fading Dawson Knox in DFS Thanksgiving due to the high ownership, but he is a great play, of course, in season long. Now, before we get into the main slate, the 1 p.m. games, a word from our sponsors over at Manscaped.
This holiday season, equip yourself or a loved one with the premier men's groom product available on the market. Manscaped is the ultimate gift, and they are here to change the men's grooming game for good. Manscaped products such as the Performance Package 4.0 will be sure to leave the men in your life excited this holiday season. This hygiene bundle includes the Lawnmower 4.0, Weed Whacker, Boxers, Travel Kit, and liquid formulations. The new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is waterproof with advanced skin-safe technology to reduce nicks and cuts, something your jingle bells will most definitely appreciate. This is the premier men's grooming trimmer available on the market. Heck, you want to do it in the dark, you want to do it in the shower? Well, go ahead, because it actually has a built-in LED light to be able to take care of your members downstairs. In addition to the fantastic Lawnmower 4.0, you're also getting the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, which can help you whack those gross, unwanted hairs in your ears and nose. This product also has, again, the proprietary skin-safe technology to help prevent nicks, snags, and tugs when you're taking care of your business. The Performance Package also includes Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant to protect against chafing, as well as their Crop Reviver Ball Toner to keep your boys fresh at all times. On top of everything, they've even thrown in the Shed Travel Bag to carry your goods and Manscaped anti-shaving boxer briefs to hold the entire package together. Again, get 20% off plus free shipping if you use promo code BUSH at checkout over at manscaped.com. During the winter, you may be spending more time inside with your balls. May as well make them look beautiful. Promo code BUSH will get you 20% off as well as free shipping, but we're not actually done with the great news this holiday season. With Black Friday coming up, be sure to give the ultimate gift to your manlies, a clean, hygienic look that is completely unmatched on the market currently. The current promotions offered by Manscaped over on manscaped.com are on their way for this week's sales. For their special Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales, any purchase made site-wide will come with a 25% discount on top of the 20% off you were already getting by using code BUSH. Whether you're gifting for your brother, your dad, your significant other, they'll all thank you for a crisp delivery and attention to detail that Manscaped has shown in their products. Again, we over at the Fantasy Stock Exchange cannot thank our friends over at Manscaped enough, the leaders in male grooming. Join 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped for their shower time routine by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code BUSH. Again, 20% off and free shipping with the code BUSH at manscaped.com. That's an insane deal. You use that, you apply it on Black Friday, on Cyber Monday, you're getting a deal from our code as well as getting a deal provided by Manscaped. So again, clean up your nuts and make sure your bellies are the only thing that are full this Thanksgiving. Appreciate you guys listening in. Back to the video.
All right, big thanks to Manscaped. With Black Friday coming up, it's only 2 days away as I record this right now. That is obviously a big time for you guys to take advantage of their 25% off sale. So make sure you go check that out, manscaped.com. Promo code BUSH, as mentioned in the ad read. So let's get into the 1 p.m. games. Steelers at Bengals. Running back in this game. Again, we are only focusing on running backs now going forward. I was just going to preview the entire Thanksgiving slate, and now I'm only going to be focused on running backs. But in this game, it's pretty straightforward. Najee Harris and Joe Mixon, both are workhorse backs. Neither guy has more than one game in the last 5 with less than 18 opportunities. These guys get everything that you could want out of them in their backfield. Should be a slugfest type of AFC North game. Harris with the much better matchup on the ground against the Bengals run defense that hasn't been very good as of late. Started off the season pretty good, but not as good in recent weeks. Joe Mixon has a bit easier of a matchup, knowing that the Steelers are banged up along the defensive front with TJ Watt missing last week's game. But either way, both guys are in your lineup, of course. Panthers at Dolphins, the next game that we're going to talk about here. In this game, you're going to be starting Christian McCaffrey, sitting Myles Gaskin. Gaskin is going from the easiest matchup in the NFL against the Jets last week to potentially the hardest matchup in the NFL against Carolina. Carolina has been very good against the run. Of course, they did stifle Antonio Gibson last week, even though he was pretty efficient on his carries. He wasn't able to get into the end zone. Usage was really good for Myles Gaskin last week, but they did have the game script. They did have the matchup in favor. They probably knew going into this game that the Jets are a team that we can easily run on, which is why we saw Myles Gaskin get such a big workload. 74% of the snaps is a season high, 72% of the rush attempts, 55% of the routes, et cetera, et cetera. We did see Duke Johnson signed before this game and mix into the rotation, basically knocking Salvin Ahmed out of his role. So we'll see how that kind of plays out going forward. But I am sitting Myles Gaskin in this game because this matchup is just not good. I have a feeling they're probably going to go into this game with a game plan that they need to throw the ball. They're going to go into this game not expecting Myles Gaskin to be a huge part of this one because the Carolina Panthers are just too good of a run defense for a mediocre running back like Myles Gaskin to be able to beat them on the ground. So moving on to the CMC side, CMC, of course, we know he's in your lineup, but his usage, we saw it get back to CMC level usage last week, 90% of the snaps, 90% of the routes, which is the highest in the NFL, 32% of the targets, 31% targets per route run. Of course, short down and distance, long down and distance, inside the 5 attempts. It is all Christian McCaffrey in that one. And with Cam Newton kind of giving some life to this offense, that is great news for Christian McCaffrey's scoring potential on any given week. Eagles at Giants, start Sanders and start Barkley in this game. 2 of the best buy low candidates in fantasy right now are playing in the same game, in my opinion. Usage was great for Miles Sanders before he even got injured. He gets the ramp up week where you guys can see he played 46% of the snaps, wasn't heavily involved, but it was his first game off of a multi-week injury. The difference between now and week 6, where you guys can see he was getting very good usage, 83% of the snaps, 64% of the carries, 66% of the routes, is that the Eagles ranked number 32 in neutral pass rate since week 8 right now, meaning that they're running the ball at a very, very high rate compared to basically the polar opposite back in week 6 when Miles Sanders was last healthy. So what you're seeing with Miles Sanders is a guy that is walking back into his original role, but the team philosophy has shifted to the point that they're a run team now instead of a pass team, which is what they were when Miles Sanders was last out there. So his role that he had back in week 6, week 5 is much more valuable now than it was previously, because we were seeing this guy get like 4 carries a game at some point because the team was just passing the ball at such a high rate. Now I think we're going to see them commit to Miles Sanders and the run a little bit more because we've seen that in recent weeks. On Saquon's side of things, he's also a great buy low. He was in the video yesterday. Saquon played 62% of the snaps on Monday after a multi-week injury. I think he can get back up to the 80% range that we've seen from him when he was on the field and healthy earlier this season pre-ankle injury. So the Eagles being a very easy matchup for Saquon Barkley, I think we could see a monster game out of Saquon, a big play here and there, or a long run or something like that. So Saquon Barkley is a guy that I think is a great DFS play in main slate if you guys are going to play this week, because I don't think a whole lot of people are going to play him. And I think he has a monster ceiling, as we know from Saquon Barkley, on any given week. So Titans at Patriots in this game, it's, pretty gross at the running back position. In the Patriots backfield, I think you can flex pretty much either of these guys. With Tennessee, I'm sitting both of them. So both backfields are a mess. The Titans, we have some clarity now that Adrian Peterson has been cut, but we also randomly saw Dontrell Hilliard get most of the run in Jeremy McNichols' absence. He might be back this week. Plus, we also have Deontay Foreman being used to some degree as well. So in my opinion, just sit them all, avoid the headache. On the Patriots side of things, we do have Damian Harrison and Ramondre Stevenson, both who are, valuable running backs, both who are talented running backs, but both guys are low-end flex plays because they're kind of cannibalizing each other. And the reason I can't trust one over the other is because I simply don't know who's going to get more carries, more run, because typically we've seen Damian Harris be the primary back when he's been on the field, but Ramondre Stevenson had a big chunk of his workload last week, actually out-carried Damian Harris for the first time all season. So we're going to have to see what Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels do with this backfield. Are they going to shift all the way to Ramondre Stevenson? Are they going to continue to use Damian Harris in his role that we've seen earlier in the season? Or is it going to be a mix of both guys? We really don't know at this point. So I'm just going to say they're both low-end flex plays, but I'm not heavily invested in either guy as of right now until we see some more trends that Ramondre Stevenson potentially might be taking over this backfield or something like that. So Falcons at Jaguars. In this game, pretty straightforward. If Cordero Patterson is playing, you start him. If James Robinson is playing, you start him. So if Cordero Patterson doesn't play, I'm not messing around with Davis, with Gallman, with Quadre Olison, because randomly we saw Quadre Olison coming off the practice squad play 48% of the snaps and lead the team in carries. So just pray that Cordero Patterson plays, and he's the only guy that we have to worry about in this backfield. Mike Davis, all these guys, they're all droppable. They're not even worth rostering with how bad of an offense the Falcons are right now. On the Jaguar side of things, J-Rob has a cupcake week this week against an Atlanta Falcons defense that is very bad against the run after two brutal matchups against Indianapolis and San Francisco. I think James Robinson could be in for a big one this week. So if you guys have him, he's probably in for his biggest game in multiple weeks, probably, because since his injury, really haven't seen him outside of a couple goal line touches here and there pay off too big. But moving on to the Buccaneers at Colts, start Jonathan Taylor in this game, start Leonard Fournette in this game as well. Both guys' roles dictate that they're going to be in your lineups, and neither running back is a guy that you want to be sitting necessarily, but neither running back has a good matchup this week. The Bucs will have Vita Vea back for this game, according to Bruce Arians, and their primary focus going into this game will be to stop Jonathan Taylor, which they've done successfully against running backs having special seasons. Just in 2019, the Buccaneers were the only team to stop Christian McCaffrey, and they did it actually twice in 2019. So they're going to have no problem honing in on Jonathan Taylor, trying to take him out of this game and make Carson Wentz beat them. But either way, he's still into your lineup. He's still a top 5 running back on the week because you simply can't sit this guy with how he's been playing. Fournette can get there, though, on the other side of things in the passing game, similar to what we saw last week against the Giants, or via touchdowns, because we know in this offense they're going to score a whole lot, and Fournette can be a big beneficiary of that. But I'm guessing he's going to be inefficient on the ground in this game. To the Jets at Texans, a lot of low-end flex plays in this one, but nobody I feel really confident in. If I have to start anybody from this game, it'll be Ty Johnson. Without Michael Carter this week, he should split carries with Tevin Coleman about evenly, but he's going to get probably a monopoly on the receiving work, which is why I like Ty Johnson the most. Zach Wilson is expected to start this game, so we don't know how that's going to affect Ty Johnson in the receiving game, but given that he is the only receiving back now with Michael Carter out for the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm expecting Ty Johnson to probably have a pretty decent game as a receiving back, and he's a guy that I would start probably over a guy like Myles Gaskin, to be honest, as a top 30 running back, because this matchup is just much better for a guy like Ty Johnson than it is for Myles Gaskin. I think the roles will be relatively similar. So if I had to start a Texans running back, this is where it gets kind of, murky, of course. I would choose David Johnson because his role is more valuable. As you guys can see on the screen, he did outsnap Rex Burkhead last week, running more routes, getting more targets, getting the long down and distance and 2-minute drill work. But it really comes down to game script with these two guys. If the Texans get out to a big lead, which is definitely possible against the Jets, then it's probably Rex Burkhead salting the clock away. But if they're down, then it's probably David Johnson. We really don't know which direction this game is going to go. I could see either team winning this game. I'm a Zach Wilson believer, so I'm expecting a solid outing from Zach Wilson coming off of a multi-week absence. He's probably had a chance to review what he was doing wrong in the early part of the season, watch some veteran quarterbacks take over his job for a few games and see what they're doing differently. So I'm believing that Zach Wilson can win this game for the Jets, which is why I favorite David Johnson if I had to make that decision, but I don't want to start either of these guys if I can help it. All right, to the 4 p.m. games. We have the Chargers at Broncos. Start Austin Eckler and both Broncos running backs. Austin Eckler is Austin Eckler. Of course, he is in your lineup every single week. He was the RB2 on the week last week. Monster game for him against the Steelers on Sunday night. Javonte Williams, truthers, this is the moment, right? This is the telling moment that we are awaiting as Javonte Williams stands. Before the bye week, we saw Javonte Williams outsnap Melvin Gordon for the first time since week 4. Are they going to give him the lion's share of the touches coming out of the bye week? We saw the post-bye rookie bump for his former teammate, Michael Carter, on the Jets coming out of their bye week. This matchup is juicy, 32nd against the run, are the Los Angeles Chargers. So this matchup is great. Javonte Williams could come out and have a 20 carry game in this one and outsnap Melvin Gordon 70-30 or something like that. And it wouldn't shock me, but it also wouldn't shock me if we come out and we see the 50-50 split that we've seen all season. So we're kind of patiently waiting this one as Javonte truthers, but hopefully we see the post-bye rookie bump take effect for Javonte Williams, and he's the primary back going forward. Could be a league winner if that's the case, because they have a very easy schedule down the stretch, and he would make for a great trade target also. If you guys haven't had your trade deadline, go out and send some offers for Javonte Williams, because he could be a league winner down the stretch, like I mentioned, if he does get that lion's share of the touches coming out of the bye week. So moving on to the Vikings at 49ers. In this game, you're going to be starting Dalvin Cook, starting Elijah Mitchell if he plays, and then flex Jeff Wilson if Elijah Mitchell is out. Dalvin Cook is Dalvin Cook. Tough matchup, but he is obviously a top 5 guy, always into your lineup each and every week. Elijah Mitchell, I would say, probably should be back this week because it sounds like he was close to playing last week. But in his absence, we saw Jeff Wilson get 21 opportunities. Now, I know he didn't perform necessarily, and Deebo Samuel was the guy that was actually the better running back in that game, but he got missed on a wide open touchdown. If you guys watch it back, Jeff Wilson was literally had nobody within 5 yards of him on the goal line. They ran like a play action play, and Jeff Wilson had a wide open touchdown, and it was legitimately a throw that I could have made, and Jimmy Garoppolo missed him. So I have no idea what happened there, but Jeff Wilson is a guy that I'm still throwing into my lineup if Elijah Mitchell is out again, but I expect Elijah Mitchell probably to be back for this game. So moving on to the Rams at Packers. In this game, start A.J. Dillon and start Darrell Henderson. We should know Darrell Henderson's role by now. A.J. Dillon, of course, did not smash last week, where he was probably expected to smash. Everybody was on him from a DFS perspective, 50% owned type of running back. But what his role was an RB1 role. As you guys can see on the screen, 75% of the snaps, over 60% of the carries, 51% route participation, was targeted quite a bit, short down and distance, long down and distance. If they had it inside the 5 attempt, he would have gotten it. So great news for A.J. Dillon for those of you guys that do have him this week. He has an RB1 role. We just need to see him produce a little bit better. And this is a much easier matchup this week against the league average run defense, as opposed to the Vikings, who have actually been quite good against the run, who they had last game. So great news for A.J. Dillon going forward and for this week. Probably not very usable, though, after the bye week in week 13, because we expect Aaron Jones probably to be back by then. So Sunday Night Football. Browns at Ravens. This one should be a pretty solid AFC North showdown again. We have the Bengals and Steelers going at it, and we also have the Browns and Ravens going at it this week. So Chubb is in your lineup, of course. Flex Kareem Hunt if he plays, and sit Devontae Freeman. Now, Chubb, like I said, obviously in your lineup, he does have a history of going off against the Baltimore Ravens, so that is definitely good news for him. Kareem Hunt was designated to return from IR today, along with right tackle Jack Conklin, who helps boost that running game as a whole, but both of these guys are expected to play in this game, or at least could play in this game, according to Ian Rappaport. So we'll have to see kind of how that situation plays out. But if Kareem Hunt is playing, he's definitely in your lineup. Hopefully you have some pivot options, though, in case he doesn't play, or in case we don't hear about it until 1 p.m. kickoff that he's playing or he's not, because he is playing on Sunday Night Football, right? So if you don't have a pivot option like Alex Collins or J.D. McKissick on Monday night, then you might be screwed if you're waiting for Kareem Hunt and he doesn't end up playing. So definitely a situation to monitor. Hopefully we hear some clarity before 1 p.m. on Sunday, whether Kareem Hunt's going to play or not. He has been activated to return, but they haven't officially said he's playing or he isn't. So Devontae Freeman on the other side of things is receiving a solid share of the Ravens backfield, but we haven't yet seen Devontae Freeman with both him and Lamar Jackson on the field, and with Latavius Murray as well, in a while. And last time all three of those guys were on the field, we saw a three-way timeshare between the quarterback taking carries and the two running backs taking carries. And this is a brutal matchup against a tough Cleveland Browns run defense that was one of the top 5 units in the league prior to DeAndre Swift obviously breaking off a long run against them. So I'm steering clear of Devontae Freeman this week in favor of some of the guys that I've mentioned already: Tony Pollard, J.D. McKissick, the Patriots running backs. If you have those guys, I would rather start them over a guy like Devontae Freeman this week. Now, moving on to the final matchup of the video, the Seahawks at the Washington football team on Monday night. In this game, you're going to be starting Antonio Gibson, flexing Alex Collins, and flexing J.D. McKissick. 2 back-to-back bad matchups for Antonio Gibson, but he was quite solid against the Bucs and the Panthers, besides the fumble that he had against Carolina. And these, are 2 of the best run defenses in the league. So the fact that Gibson actually was pretty solid in those games, and against the Bucs, of course, was really good from a fantasy perspective. We know that Gibson's role has been game script and matchup dependent pretty much all season. As you guys can see on the screen, in a positive game script against the Bucs, where they were winning the whole game, he saw 63% of the snaps, a lot of carries, a pretty decent share of the inside the 5 short down and distance as well. But against the Panthers, where they were losing most of the game, he saw his snap share decrease, rush attempts decrease because they weren't able to commit to the run as much. Now, we don't really know what we're going to get out of the Seahawks team because they are capable of performing any given week because they have Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf and all these weapons. But the Washington football team has been better on defense in recent weeks, holding both the Packers and Bucs to under 25 points. So we'll have to see kind of how this shakes out. But I like Antonio Gibson and JD McKissic this week to perform against one of the easiest running back matchups in the league. They're currently allowing the third most adjusted fantasy points to the running back position. A big part of that has come as receiving backs too. So that's kind of why I also think JD McKissic is a good flex play in this one. Alex Collins, on the other hand, is the primary ball carrier for this team, but the Washington defense is much more of a pass funnel defense. Touchdown or bust type of flex play for Alex Collins this week is pretty much all he is. So if you guys did enjoy that, like I said, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you are new, we're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers as soon as possible. On Friday, like I said, I'm going to have the rest of the wide receiver and tight end sits and starts for the week 12 games. Thursday, tomorrow, Thanksgiving, we will be live around 11 a.m. So make sure you guys tune into that. Get your last minute start sit questions answered and hang out with us on Thanksgiving. Of course, it is not Thanksgiving for us because we're Canadian, but enjoy your Thanksgivings and have a safe and happy holiday. Peace out, guys. I'll talk to you soon.